Hello, viewers. Today is Monday, December 2nd, 2024. I'm here to share my thoughts and opinions on the pardon that President Biden has given for his son, Hunter Biden. And yesterday we got the news that he has pardoned his son, Hunter Biden. And in my view, that this is a very bad decision taken by Biden at the fag end of his presidency. This doesn't look good. This looks like pure nepotism, and I don't even know what prompted him to take this decision. But before going in detail about this particular pardon, let's go and look at how presidents have historically used this pardon power and what are some of those controversial pardons. So if you look back and look at the 1980 presidential election and the two terms of Ronald Reagan, in 1998, Ronald Reagan had had given close to around 270 pardons, I believe, but none of them were very controversial per se. And he was able to give pardons, use his presidential authority in a very judicial way, and nobody had complained much about the pardons given by Ronald Reagan. However, his successor, George Herbert Walker Bush, in 1992, after losing the election to Bill Clinton in the 1992 election, gave pardon to Caspar Weinberger, who was Defense Secretary up until 1987. Caspar Weinberger was actually charged by the Special Prosecutor Lawrence Walsh. Basically, the charge was that he lied to Lawrence Walsh on the Iran-Contra affair. So people might ask, what is Iran-Contra affair? For those who do not know, I will just explain in a very short way. In the 80s, United States considered Iran as an enemy, and they were not supposed to sell arms to Iran. And similarly, in the 80s, Ronald Reagan, after he took power, wanted to basically help the rebels in Nicaragua as he wanted to get rid of the Sandinista government in Nicaragua. However, Congress passed some legislation disallowing or preventing the president from using any funds to help the Contra rebels in Nicaragua. So the Defense Secretary Caspar Weinberger and the National Security Council are trying to figure out a way to help the Contra rebels in Nicaragua. So what they did was they sold arms to Iran and through an intermediary. Some people say that sold it through Israel. It's alleged that they sold it through Israel, but nevertheless, the arms were sold to Iran, and that is a violation of the foreign policy decision taken by the US government at that time. And they used the proceeds from that arms sales to fund the rebels in Nicaragua. That again is actually against the actual legislation passed by the Congress to stop funding to those rebels in Nicaragua. So in both sides, it was basically an sort of an illegal transaction. But that was what was called as an Iran-Contra affair. In fact, Ronald Reagan came out and accepted that they did help the rebels in Nicaragua. But the explanation that he gave was that Congress has no authority to actually legislate foreign policy, as it rests squarely with the executive power of the presidency. So he said the president can formulate foreign policy in any way, shape, or form that he wants. That was the message he was trying to convey to Congress as well as to the public. So this Caspar Weinberger was actually charged on the Iran-Contra affair, and Lawrence Walsh had indicted him. So in 1987, after the indictment, Caspar Weinberger resigned. So fast forward to 1992, after George W. Herbert Walker Bush lost the election, he pardoned Caspar Weinberger. And this became a huge controversy because the Special Prosecutor Lawrence Walsh was suggesting that once George H.W. Bush finishes his presidency, he will be able to ask questions on the Iran-Contra affair with the ex-vice president, and that ex-president rather. That was the plan. But by actually pardoning Caspar Weinberger and others, George H.W. Bush does not have to face a special prosecutor at all. So this was a huge controversy in the 1992 pardon offered by George Herbert Walker Bush to Caspar Weinberger. Then you had the Clinton presidency. So if you talk about Clinton, you always talk about controversy. So Clinton, as such, Bill Clinton had pardoned several people. In fact, on his last day of presidency, January 20th, 2001, he pardoned around 140 people. Some of them are very controversial. Let me give you an example. He pardoned Mark Rich. Mark Rich was actually a fugitive then. He was living in Switzerland. He was charged with tax evasion for up to around $48 million, and he was living as a fugitive in Switzerland. But his wife, it was alleged, gave campaign contribution to the Clinton Library, as well as to the senatorial campaign for Hillary Clinton when she was running for the Senate in New York in the 2000 senatorial election. So this was alleged by several people. In fact, when Mark Rich was pardoned, even Jimmy Carter, Terry McAuliffe, and James Carville, these Democrats came out and said that it was very wrong to pardon Mark Rich. So there was an investigation. Federal prosecutor Joe White or somebody, Mary Jo White, yeah. Mary Jo White was investigating this, and then she was replaced by the Republican, guess who? James Comey. James Comey eventually came out and said that there was no illegality on the part of the Clintons in the pardon of Mark Rich. That's one. Then Clinton also pardoned Dan Drozdensky, who was charged with some post office scandal in the US Congress. He was pardoned. And then you had Susan McDougal, who actually served her 18-month sentence on the Whitewater scandal. She went to jail because she was not willing to testify against Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton. And she served 18 months, but Bill Clinton pardoned her after she had served the sentence. And then finally, Bill Clinton pardoned Roger Clinton, his brother. And his brother actually served the sentence as well. He was charged with some drug crimes, but he pardoned his brother. So that was also hugely controversial because people felt that that was not the right thing to do as a president, to pardon your own brother. So then moving on to George W. Bush presidency, he had a relatively a good presidency in terms of the pardons. He gave pardons, and none of them were very controversial. There is only that was controversial by limited means was he pardoned Scooter Libby. This was a guy that was charged by the special prosecutor Fitzgerald, I believe, and he was charged on that case where they outed a CIA agent during the Iran-Iraq war time period. And George W. Bush actually did not pardon him. He actually commuted the sentence. He was serving a 30-month sentence, but within 1 month of that jail sentence, George W. Bush commuted the sentence by actually letting him come out of the jail. But the rest of the sentencing rules applied, so he did not actually pardon him. In fact, Dick Cheney pressured George W. Bush at the end of his presidency to somehow pardon Scooter Libby, but George W. Bush did not do that. In fact, he has written that on his own book that Cheney was pressuring him to pardon Scooter Libby, and he said that we already commuted the sentence and he has to pay the price for what he did. This is exactly what George W. Bush apparently told Dick Cheney. Then you move on to Barack Obama presidency. By and large, none of the pardons offered by Barack Obama was controversial. There was not a big news. The Justice Department was working sort of independently. The special counsel advised from the office of the president, and they did not get involved in any of those controversial pardons. And there was nothing that I could think of that was controversial in terms of pardons during the Obama presidency. And then you move on to the Donald Trump's first term. Everybody was worried after he lost the election to Joe Biden in 2020 that he might pardon himself or he might pardon some of the rioters on the January 6th riot in front of the Capitol. But none of that happened. He did not pardon himself. He did not pardon those people. So, so now coming on to the Joe Biden presidency, he had completed four years of his presidency. Unfortunately, the Democrat Kamala Harris did not win the presidency. Now, Joe Biden had a lot of options. He could have very easily spoken to Donald Trump, and he could have said that I would like you to go ahead and pardon my son Hunter Biden, because if I do it, it will look like it will look very bad in front of the public. So he could have talked to Donald Trump about it. He didn't do that. He went ahead and unilaterally did this pardon. This is all the more troublesome because all along he has been saying that he will not pardon his son Hunter Biden. And now he's saying that he was set up and this was something that would have never been prosecuted if it was not my son. And my point is, like, your son was charged, let him face the rule of law, and the rule of law should apply to your son as much as should apply to everybody else. If you go ahead and say that this was a political prosecution, what will prevent prevent other presidents, the future presidents, from using the same tactic to say that this is a political prosecution, so I'm going to pardon my son, my uncle, or my nephew, or my niece. I mean, this is a slippery slope. And that's even more troublesome because of the fact that Hunter Biden is already facing these charges, and there is a good possibility that he might just serve a sentence of 3 months or 4 months, or he might even come out of this without any jail sentence. So I think it is kind of lack of judgment on Joe Biden's part in actually giving a pardon to his son, and this is very, very troublesome for the future because this sets a precedent for the future presidents to start giving pardons for their relatives, and that's not a good sign for democracy. And the other reason is everybody is worried about what Democrats are going to do in 2028. So in 2028, Donald Trump will complete two terms, so he cannot run again. So he can pardon pretty much anyone he wants without any kind of political liability or political hit that he's going to take. So he can just go ahead and do whatever he wants. So Joe Biden, by pardoning his son, Hunter Biden, has given a blank check to Donald Trump. And moreover, if Democrats are going to run in 2028 saying that Donald Trump has pardoned these people and he is basically corrupt or something on those lines, they can turn around, Republicans can turn around and say that what happened to Joe Biden? He has pardoned his own son. So you guys were keeping quiet during the time. So either case, it's a lose-lose proposition for Democrats. So Joe Biden, by doing this as one of his last acts, has literally affected the chances of Democrats in the 2028 election, as well as the narrative that the Democrats would want to set in 2026 or 2028, saying that these are the things that Donald Trump has done or is going to do. That narrative will not fly anymore because of this pardon. And finally, I would like to close with this. Joe Biden, by and large, had a very successful political career up to the first 2 years of his presidency. But all his decisions after the first half of his term has turned out to be really, really bad, starting with his decision to run for re-election. Had he not decided to run for re-election, Democrats would have had a very robust primary, and one of the candidates would have emerged stronger from that primary, and they would have given a better race. And I'm not saying Kamala Harris did not run a very good race. In fact, if there was a primary in the Democratic Party, I still feel like Kamala Harris would have come out on the top, but she would have been stronger because she would have had a lot more experience debating with people. She would have had a lot more a lot more time to come up with policy ideas, and she would have also had a lot more time to actually disassociate herself from the Joe Biden presidency. So Joe Biden did not offer that to Kamala Harris or any other Democrats, and I think by not withdrawing earlier, or by saying that he's not going to run for the second term earlier, I think Joe Biden has done a great disservice to the nation as well as to the Democratic Party. And that's my take for today. Some people might disagree, but this is what I honestly feel. And that's it for me today. I'll come back to you with another episode on some other day. Till then, take care.